So, those are the problems with Windows XP. That's some of the reasons that you need to update computers, because of the reasons that we just talked about. Now then, let's talk about real world. And I know as an IT guy, you know as a business owner, you can't update all of your computers for a number of reasons, budgetary reasons being a big one. And a lot of you all have applications that won't work on new software. You have older applications that are designed for older computers. So it's not the end of the world after April 8th, 2014. Yes, support is going to end. Yes, there's more likely to be security problems. Yes, you're not going to be able to use new hardware, but really it's not. It's not the end of the world. I mean, your computers, you come into work on April 9th, they're going to keep functioning just like they always have. You're going to come in, you're going to log in, and you're going to get to your desktop. You're not going to have any problems with it. Antivirus software is going to continue to work. As we talked about, people are going to find exploits and find hacks, find ways to utilize Windows XP to steal information and to make computers become robots that send out junk mail, that do those sorts of things, that attack other computers. But antivirus software is going to continue to work. Because Microsoft doesn't patch the original problem, it's very likely that your computer may get infected and the antivirus software may do its job, clean it, and it get reinfected again because the original problem has never got fixed. But it's going to continue to work just fine. Current applications that you have are going to work for years to come. Me personally, I have a 16-year-old laptop, and my 16-year-old laptop has WordPerfect. If you all remember WordPerfect, WordPerfect was kind of the predecessor to Microsoft Word. WordPerfect still works great on my 16-year-old laptop. Now, I don't have the collaboration features. I don't have the functionality of the Microsoft Office suite. In my PowerPoint presentation, I wouldn't be able to have the transitions between the slides. I wouldn't be able to control the slideshow from an iPad, that kind of stuff. But my applications on my 16-year-old laptop continue to work. So, that's something that you don't have to be concerned about. And as I mentioned, a lot of you all have niche applications specific to your business that haven't been updated in a long time. There's a very, very popular amortization software that CPAs use. I have a lot of CPAs who use it, and that software is not going to work on anything newer than Windows XP. And it's a great piece of software. I mean, it works very good for doing amortization schedules. It's going to continue to run. And the big thing is that Microsoft, Windows 7, and Windows 8 has built in backward compatibility so that even if you have a new computer utilizing Windows 7, even if you have a new computer utilizing Windows 8, you're still going to be able to run Windows XP applications, Windows XP programs. And in fact, you can even have a window on your computer, an icon on your desktop that's going to load Windows XP within a window. Still have the green start bar at the bottom, that kind of thing. So Microsoft is not exactly just leaving you completely out in the cold on the end of support, the day after the end of support, but they're not going to be able to utilize a lot of new features and software, not utilize new hardware, and it's going to continue to get to the point where it gets exploited to the point that you're spending hours and hours and hours and hours a year trying to keep the computers functional. So that's really what it comes down to. But it is not the end of the world that Windows XP has reached its end of life and that now they've moved on. One of the things that I do, and I do a lot as an IT business owner and IT consultant, I'm at heart a nerd, and that's all that I've ever done since I've been 14 years old, and that's what I am. And I've realized that as I have gotten older, yes, technology is still cool to me, and I enjoy it. What I enjoy more about my job is working with you all, working with business owners, and figuring out how to let them use technology to be more productive. To, if you're an attorney, see your calendar while you're in court and put something on your calendar so your secretary sees it when you get back to the office. If you're a consultant, how to make your documents your files that you use appear when you're on a consulting job in the middle of New Mexico. Those kind of things are what I really enjoy. And I took some time over the past 6 to 8 months and talked to a lot of you all, but also participated in a lot of focus groups and a lot of studies with Microsoft, with Dell, and with some of the other big technology names, and kind of composed myself what the growing needs of small businesses are. Business has changed a lot in the 13 years that Windows XP has been on the market. There's a whole lot of needs and a whole lot of challenges that businesses have today simply because of the economic environment that we didn't have 15 years ago. And in order to meet those needs and meet those changes, you've got to figure out different ways to operate, ways to cut your costs, and ways to communicate better in order to be more competitive. You know, that's just huge. We see that all of the time. You have to be more competitive than the guy down the street to get the business. It wasn't necessarily that way. I mean, business has always been competitive, but in the economy today, it's much more so than it was the past. And, you know, the top probably things that I found in doing my work of what business owners, business managers, and even employees in business are facing nowadays are the ability to balance work and life. In the mobile lifestyle that we all live, we all have iPhones, we have Droids, we have whatever we have, we're connected all of the time. It's not as easy to leave at 5 o'clock and shut work off. Work follows you. And people really, really want to be able to find a balance between work and life. I mean, they have to. They want to be able to work smarter because work follows them all the time. You know, they get an email, and the email is a critical issue, and it's Saturday night. They want to go hang out with their kid and play Barbie dolls. I have a 2-year-old. I can identify very well. But they want to be able to work smarter so that they can take care of that problem in 10 minutes and go back to what they were doing. That's really huge to me. They want to be able to stay connected. You know, one of the probably, out of all the service issues that people have, one of the top 5 service issues that we see is I have to be able to work remotely. I have to have my email on my iPad, my phone, my tablet, whatever the case may be. Being able to stay connected is more important than it ever has been in the past. Being able to be in control of the information, the processes in your business, and the people in your business is also as equally important as that. And finding ways to communicate and manage people while you may not be in the office, while you may be out on the road, while you may be doing things to stay competitive in the economy that we have. That's a priority for small business. It's huge. And the other really big thing is security. You know, we face a lot of security threats that you didn't have 13 years ago when Windows XP came out. You know, even 10 years ago, I don't think that you heard nearly as much about the, let's take, for example, credit cards getting compromised. You know, that kind of thing. Yes, you heard about that. Most of the time it was because somebody stole a wallet and they got your credit card. It wasn't the TJ Maxx where 10,000 credit cards were lost at one time. That's huge. You know, you take a small business like most of you all have, and if you lose that data for your clients, depending on the industry you're in, you know, if you're in medical, you've got a huge HIPAA issue. If you're in the financial industry, well, you've got the financial regulations there. And a lot of you all probably have contracts, whether it's contracts with the government, contracts with other businesses that specifically spell out what steps you must take and what steps you must do to remediate if there's any data loss. So security is a huge thing. And you've got to be able to take all of those things, make it easy to manage, easy to use, which comes to utilizing an IT partner, whether it's SmartPath, whatever IT firm that you all utilize. But if business owners want to take that technology and make it easy to use, and you just want stuff that works. I mean, that's the big thing that overall we hear more than anything is, you know, if you stop and think about it, you know security is very important. You know that being connected remotely is very important. But the big thing that we hear more than anything is we want technology that just works. They don't want problems, they want things to work. That is, you know, that is what it is. So, to that end, Microsoft has taken and developed a better, a faster, and a smarter way to do it all with Windows 7 and with Windows 8 as well. Windows 8 has typically got a lot of negative press. I say it's got a lot of negative press. It's got negative press because of the interface. It looks different. It looks very different. In fact, I have a computer up here that has Windows 8. That is not your desktop. That is not your start menu. That is not what you want. I mean, I say it's not what you want. It's not what consumers want. That's been a huge issue for Microsoft. Now, when that being said, Microsoft to a degree has listened, and a lot of what is good about Windows 7, what is good about Windows 8, is things that you don't necessarily see. We hear, as IT providers, a ton of complaints about the interface and how hard it is. I can't find where my stuff is. I can't find how to connect to the wireless at my house. Why did they have to change it? And I can sympathize with you. Microsoft has sympathized with you, and we'll get to that in just a second. But besides the interface, there's actually been a lot of very positive changes in Windows 8 and in Windows 7 as well. It's changed the way that we can accomplish a lot of the things that I had just talked about that business owners want to do, to get connected, stay connected, to protect business, to take control of business, and to just generally get work done. You know, one of the biggest things is that Windows has now been, with Windows 8, has been optimized for different types of computers. And typically, you're used to having a laptop, you're used to having a desktop. People have gotten the iPads. You know, the iPad generation has came about in the past 3 years to 5 years. Microsoft saw that, and they saw that that's an issue for them as a company. Apple is gaining a huge market share in the tablet market. One of the ideas, specifically with Windows 8, but with Windows 7 too, is they're much more tablet friendly, they're much more mobile friendly. The start screen, like you see there, that people typically don't like, well, the idea with that, Microsoft's original idea, is that you have a Windows phone, you have an Xbox, you have these other Microsoft products, and it looks the same across them all. If you have your pictures right there, well, when you look at your Windows phone, your pictures are right there. If you take a picture with your phone, when you go to your laptop, your tablet, your desktop, the picture is right there on that device. Great in theory, not so great in reality, probably. After the release of Windows 8, if you actually look at the Microsoft stock started falling, and it hasn't really rebounded a whole lot. Windows 8 hasn't taken off, and the majority of the reason that it hasn't taken off is people go, whether it's from an IT company, they go to Best Buy, they look at it, and they don't like it. They don't understand it. They can't figure out, where's my start menu, where's my desktop. I mean, it sounds great to have everything in one place, everything connected, but not so much. So, Microsoft realized that they had to do something. And to that end, they have announced a product called Microsoft Blue, or Microsoft Windows 8.1. Microsoft Windows 8.1 is launching October 4th of this year, so here in about a month and a half or so. The big thing with Windows 8.1 is they're doing away with the tiles, you're getting your desktop back, and you're getting your start menu back. It's, like I said, it was great in concept, it was great in design, and I suppose even in their focus groups and their research groups, it was a good thing, but when it actually hit the market, it wasn't a good thing with consumers. So Windows Blue, or Windows 8.1, is being released in October. That is going to get users back to the feeling that they're used to, having the desktop, having the start menu, that kind of thing. And Microsoft is very good to us. In all honesty, I mean, they sponsored this event. They bought you all lunch. We worked with them tremendously. Microsoft and Microsoft products is how I put food on my table. But they realized that they got it wrong with what you see there. And they got it wrong pretty bad. But they're fixing it. As much as they did get the interface wrong, they got a whole lot of things right under the hood of Windows 8. and a whole lot of things that you are seeing used, even though you may not know that they're being used everywhere you go. You see them in airports. You see them anytime you go to any kind of event. You know, kind of a good analogy, and I'm not much of a car person, but it's been probably 15 years ago, Mazda released a sports car. It was called the RX-7, and it was a fairly ugly sports car, but it was really fast because it had a rotary engine. And it got pretty good gas mileage, which is pretty uncommon from a sports car, but it was an ugly car. People didn't like it. They didn't like it, but it ended up being very popular because it went fast and it got good gas mileage. It had a lot of good features. Windows 8 is the same way. It's ugly, they're fixing that, but it does have a lot of good features underneath the hood. You know, and the whole interface thing has probably been the biggest complaint. And I can almost guarantee if I asked you all, what have you heard about Windows 8? What do people not like about Windows 8? It's going to be the way that it looks. And I can't figure out how to use anything. I can't figure out how to get anything. But some of the things that Microsoft got right with Windows 8 is the ability to use new hardware. Windows 8 is very touch friendly, much like an iPad. Now, I love my iPad. I use my iPad for almost everything. I use it more than I do my desktop computer. I use it more than I do my laptop. But it's hard to do a lot of productive work. It's hard to do, for instance, Microsoft Project, when you're mapping out a project, because you don't have a mouse, you have to use touch, you have to use your fingers, you have to shrink, you have to know the finger strokes to make in the particular application. And Microsoft saw that and they capitalized on it. While Windows 8 is very touch friendly, much like an iPad, you also have the ability to use a keyboard and you have the ability to use a mouse in Windows 8 too. That's been a big thing. It's very fluid, it's very responsive. When you tap on something, it doesn't take 3 minutes to load. It's just very responsive. Windows 8 was specifically designed to run on low power processors. Your processor is the brain of your computer, what actually lets it think. It was designed to run on low power processors, but run applications fast on low power processors. Low power processors means that you'll last a lot longer on a single charge. A typical Windows 8 tablet or a Windows 8 laptop out of the box, you're going to get between 8 and 10 hours of charge. You don't see that on older laptops. You have an XP laptop, you get 5 hours. If you have a new battery, 6 hours maybe. If your battery's 3 years old, 4 years old, you might get an hour and a half. You're going to get a lot longer battery life out of your mobile devices with Windows 8. And Windows 8 includes a lot of security improvements as well. One of the things, and we see things that most people wouldn't even think about in terms of data getting stolen, data getting compromised, that kind of thing. All of your computers, whether it's laptop, desktop, whatever the case may be, has a hard drive in it. The hard drive is where all of the information is stored. Well, up until this point, I could take your hard drive, anybody could take your hard drive, take it out of your computer, hook it up to their computer, and read the contents of it, see what was on it. With Windows 8, they introduced a security mechanism. In nerd terms, it's called UEFI, but what it means is I can't take your hard drive out of your computer, hook it up to my computer, and read it. My computer won't recognize it. That's been a huge security improvement over past versions of Windows and other operating systems as well. There's other operating systems out there besides Microsoft. We see a lot of Apple stuff. We see a lot of Linux stuff. You probably don't see that. I know most of you all don't see that in your businesses, but that's been a really big physical security issue for a long time. Now, we talk a lot, and if you're a SmartPath client, we'll sit down at least once or twice a year and talk, but whoever your IT provider is, they probably sit with you and talk about security, and they focus on viruses, focus on that kind of thing. Are your people, when they're buying stuff online, are they using secure websites and websites that have the S after it? The biggest security risk that 98% of people have is not viruses, and it's not unencrypted websites, and it's not that kind of thing. It's physical security. if somebody can come and take your computer, if your building's unlocked, if you have a cleaning crew and your computer doesn't doesn't get back to the password prompt where you have to log in, well, we can put in all the most sophisticated firewalls and antivirus software and everything like that. But if somebody can walk in and sit down and either start using your computer or taking it, that doesn't, all of the security features, all of the sophisticatedness goes out the window. And really that's true. We see that physical security is a bigger issue than just about anything else. Windows 8 stops that. I mean, they came out with methods to prevent that. One of the neat things that people like about iPads, I love it, is your iPad includes some things like an accelerometer, a GPS, and what's called a gyrometer, as well as a few other things. But I have an iPad app I can sit on my passenger seat, and I have a work vehicle that the speedometer doesn't work exactly right in. I have an iPad app that tells me how fast I'm going. It has an accelerometer, it knows how fast you're going. Microsoft has built those features that Apple said, hey, people are going to like this. Yeah, people liked it. Microsoft has taken those and they've built them in there. They've built in a lot of new sensors. When you say sensors, what's that? Well, light sensors. The screens on laptops, on tablets, are going to automatically dim and brighten depending on where you're at, the lighting that you're in. All that goes back to, well, how can we prolong battery life the most? If you're in a very light room, it's going to darken the screen. If you're in a very dark room, it's going to lighten the screen to a point that you can see. That saves battery. That's been really a big deal and something that Microsoft got right. And the other thing is that Windows 8, Microsoft has really pushed tablets. They've pushed laptops. They've even introduced their own hardware line called Microsoft Surface. But in all reality, a desktop computer with a keyboard and mouse is what most people need. They're doing desktop publishing. They're doing project management. They're doing electronic health records. Well, the doctor's not going to sit and type a 4-paragraph report on a touchscreen. It's not that they can't. I would do it. I know doctors. I work with doctors all the time. They're not going to do it. So Microsoft has taken all these features that are common on the iPad, common on other tablets, and made them available not only on tablets, but also on traditional PCs as well. So your traditional PC, your desktop PC, is going to take less power. If you're not using it on battery, well, it still includes the sensors. So it's not going to use as much electricity. It's going to know and actually have some security features built in. If you have a desktop computer and the desktop computer is moving faster than 10 miles an hour, well, it's going to start sending alerts to you, to your IT company that says, hey, this computer is moving. Is there a reason that it's moving? Is it moving because it's 2 o'clock in the morning and well, that's not exactly right? Or is it moving because somebody's moving in office? Now, those kind of things, well, that's included, and that's going to be built in to not only tablets and laptops, but also built into desktops. A lot of times you've just pretty well sacrificed enough. A lot of businesses feel like they've sacrificed enough. And with Windows 7 and Windows 8, you don't have to sacrifice one feature to get another feature. Now, one of the big things that we have saw is either in the past, Windows XP, and Windows 7 has improved this to a degree. Windows 8 is even better. You have a powerful computer, you have a powerful laptop, and you don't have, it's fairly heavy and the battery life isn't very good, or you have a really light, thin laptop and the battery lasts a long time, but it's just not powerful. It's slow. You go to open an application to do mapping. You look at Google Earth, for example. Well, it takes 2 minutes to load because it's thin, it's slow. It doesn't have that performance built in. You don't have to really compromise with Windows 8. You get the mobility, you get the light, doesn't weigh very much, but you still get all of the power too. You could still use the keyboard and mouse, or you can use touchscreen. You can use both of them. So depending on what you're doing, there's a lot of applications that a touchscreen is ideal for. If you're counting, you're doing inventory, for example, or you're trying to move a picture on your company newsletter. You write a company newsletter every month, and the picture is centered. Well, you take your mouse and it moves way over here, and that's not where you want it. Well, you can take a touch screen and put it exactly where you want it in the document. Or like I said, if you're doing inventory, you can have a counter and just tap a button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you've got 5 widgets. So you have the ability to do both. That's been a big thing. And one thing that everybody hears a lot about, we hear a lot about nowadays, is what's called the cloud. And a lot of people don't know what the cloud is. We've had a weird weather in Kentucky, western Kentucky this year, but that's not the cloud. The cloud is having your data available anywhere that you're at, no matter what device that you're on. If you're on your telephone, if you're on your cell phone, you're on your tablet, you're on your Windows computer at the office, you're on your Windows computer home, your data follows you wherever you're at. That has been something that Microsoft has kind of had their eye on for a long time. It's never really been able to take off very well until Windows 8. Windows 8 is designed around the cloud. I don't know how many of you all use, for instance, Skype for instant messaging, or Skype maybe even to talk to your kids, if your kids got far away, whatever the case may be. But if you add a person to Skype, well, they're going to be added to the Skype on your tablet, they're going to be added to the Skype app on your phone, they're going to be added to Skype at work. It's universal, and that's kind of the easiest to understand application of what the cloud really is. Windows 8 has made cloud computing much easier. I mean, it's really gotten a lot easier to the point that you don't have to worry about, well, am I keeping a file here and a file online? Is the file that's in my Dropbox updated, or is the file that's on my desktop updated? You don't think about those things. Everything is universal. It's one place. It doesn't matter if you have a Word document on your desktop and you have it in your Dropbox and you have it over in a folder somewhere, it's going to be the same document everywhere, and it's going to be the same document on every device that you have. And overall, Microsoft's idea was you have a device, you have an operating system that lets you get it all done. And that's really what it does. They also wanted everything to stay connected. Like I said, that goes into the cloud stuff that we talked about a little bit. But a perfect example, and I probably used this with some of you all before, is you want to be mobile. And I love my doctor. She's the greatest doctor. I think she's the greatest doctor there is in West Kentucky. But I have to wait in the waiting room, and I have to wait in the exam room, and then I finally see the doctor. So great time to catch up on email. You take your laptop with you. Well, by the time you take your laptop with you, battery's probably halfway dead, so you got to find an outlet and you got to turn it on. It takes 3.5, 4 minutes to boot up, and you've got to log into it, and then it takes another 2 minutes to get to your desktop. By the time you get to your desktop, you've got to connect to wireless. You've got to find a wireless network, connect to it, tether it to your phone. That takes another minute or 2. Then you finally get to bring up Outlook 10 minutes into it, and you bring up Outlook, and it starts downloading your email, and Murphy says you finally get called back to the exam room. So you got to close the lid, and go back to the exam room, know you're going to be there for 15 minutes, open it back up, finish downloading the email, and you get 3 emails answered in that 25-minute period. Laptops are great for working at home, they're very mobile, but just to do quick work, to check your email quickly, to hop on and look and see what are stocks right now versus what were stocks 15 minutes ago, never been, the mobility idea has been great. It hasn't been that easy. With Windows 7 and Windows 8 even more, but especially in Windows 7, there was a noticeable difference over the speed over connecting to Wi-Fi, connecting to broadband networks, your AT&T, your Verizon. One of the things that I say why I like my iPad so much is I can hit a button and be checking email and answering email in 30 seconds. That's been a great thing with the iPad. I mean, there is no boot up time. I turn it on. When I turn it on, there's probably, it takes 45 seconds to come on. It'll find wireless, connect to a wireless network in about 20 seconds. I click on the email button and my email is up there. Now that's just the way that it works. With Windows 8, and Windows 7 to a degree, Windows 8 is better, you have that same type of quick connectivity to Verizon, to AT&T, to the hotspot at McDonald's. You can also be able to access all of your stuff, like we were talking about, through the cloud, and it's built in. You know, it's not like you have to connect to VPN, which some of you do that, some of you don't. Connect to terminal services, and then you get a desktop, and then you've got to find your file, and you've got to navigate to the right folder, that kind of stuff. It's there. I mean, it's on your desktop, and you save something there. You take a Word document, you save it in a folder on your desktop, and that version of the Word document that you took the paragraph at the end out of is now still has the paragraph out of the end of it on your phone and on your tablet and on the server at work. So it's Windows 7, and especially Windows 8, has been much better at keeping everything connected and keeping everything connected fairly easily. It's been, for a number of reasons, or a couple of them, like we talked about, much easier to protect your business. Like we said, you know, security is a big thing now. It wasn't a big thing when Windows XP was released. It was, but not to the degree that it is in the year 2013. Now, your clients hold you responsible. Your contracts that you may have hold you responsible. And if nothing else, you don't want your competition to get your data. It happens. Now, luckily, hopefully, you have an IT provider, you know, SmartPath, whoever you might use as an IT provider, who watches that kind of stuff for you. But a lot of people don't, and a lot of people, you would not believe. I could just tell you stories and stories here in Paducah, in Marshall County where I live, you know, in Mayfield, in Murray, of competitors in all kinds of industries finding and being sneaky to get bids, to see what did you bid that drywall job out at? What did you bid that printing job out at? Well, they're taking bids for an audit. Well, what did CPA firm 1 bid? You know, what kind of bid did they put in? What terms are in that bid? It happens more and more than people ever realize. You know, I like to believe that people generally are good, you know, they're well. I think if you look at the number of news stories you see about embezzlement nowadays versus what you saw 15 years ago, it's increased. And I think that the number of things that we hear about in terms of data security and data breaches, I know are just probably sixfold of what they were in 2004. And you know, maybe that's because of economy, maybe that's because of increased competitiveness, more entrepreneurs, whatever the case may be. It is what it is. Windows 7 and Windows 8, as I had mentioned, include a number of features that make your device and your network as a whole more secure. One of the things that we do at SmartPath, and we've just recently started doing, that's been huge, is mobile device management. Mobile device management, you know, if you have an office, you provide your employees cell phones. Well, there's a lot of data on those cell phones. You email documents back and forth. Now then, with newer devices, Windows phones, newer iPhones, the cloud, the documents on your server are available on people's phones. That kind of thing. Well, with mobile device management, it allows us to be able to control, first of all, what your employees, people who have your phones, do have access to and don't have access to. It lets us be able to, for instance, you have a data plan. You don't want your people spending all day watching Netflix videos because it eats your data plan, much less being not productive. We can block Netflix and just not let them watch Netflix videos on their phone. We can find the phone on Google Earth on a map and physically identify it, and we can also wipe the phone off. So you leave a phone on an airplane, you leave a phone on a taxi cab, you're not going to get it back. Well, as long as you let us know, and you let us know quickly, anybody else is not going to be able to get the data off of your phone. They're going to get a phone, and it's going to be a brand new wiped phone that has no data on it. Windows 8 has given the ability for that to happen. Windows 7 kind of started that. Windows 8 has taken that and extended it. You know, mobile device management is huge, and that's the thing a lot of you all don't think about. But you know, if you give employees laptops, and they work from home. You give employees access to the network from home, or you give your employees a phone. What happens when that stuff gets stolen and they have a VPN connection to the office, or they take documents, they copy them to a jump drive to work on the weekend? That happens a lot. That's normal. I do it all the time, and most of you all do too. What happens when the jump drive gets stolen? Well, that's a big issue. So Microsoft took that, they identified that. One way of doing that was, as I mentioned earlier, you can't take your hard drive out and put it into another computer and read it. They have also introduced something called BitLocker. BitLocker identifies you, and this is kind of Big Brother-ish, kind of NSA-ish. It is what it is, and it's the society that we live in. But BitLocker identifies you with a personal algorithm or a personal key. And if you specify a document can only be opened by you, well, you have to have your fingerprint to open it. Almost any new device, any new tablet, laptop, and even desktop computers now have fingerprint readers. If you have a desktop computer, you can buy a USB fingerprint reader for $35 nowadays. They're not expensive at all. They're built into new devices. And you're able to specify with Windows 7 and Windows 8 that this document has to have my fingerprint in order to open. Now that's a big thing. You don't have to worry about you lose a USB drive. If you use BitLocker, you got to have your fingerprint in order to open it. That's a big thing. And we see more security problems from the internet than we do anything else. It is what it is. That's where viruses come from. That's where malware, nastiness gets downloaded. Lots of problems with it. The most common problem with it is obviously it slows down computers, but you take an attorney, or you take a financial advisor, or you take anybody who's in a professional services business, or even not in a professional service business, but somebody who's going to have somebody in their office, their computer is infected with something, they're in the middle of a meeting, and a porn screen pops up. It happens. I mean, it probably has happened 12 times that I could think of in the past year to some of my clients. And I'll talk about embarrassing. Yeah, it's embarrassing. That's a huge part of it. But also, if that kind of thing is happening, well, what else is happening? What's happening behind the scenes? Who else has access to your data? So now then, not only do you have to explain to your client why a picture of a naked person has popped up on the screen, but you also are worried, well, if that happened, I know I don't go to porn sites. How did this image get on my computer? Well, what else is on your computer, or what else is being taken off of your computer? So, Windows 7, Windows 8, Microsoft greatly improved security within Windows Explorer. Windows Explorer has always kind of been a hole. It's not been the best browser necessarily. I use Google Chrome a lot. But Microsoft has actually done it right with Internet Explorer 10. Internet Explorer 10 is much safer. There's a function called Smart Screen, and one of the easy things, it's common sense, and if you think about it, don't know why they didn't do it 7 or 8 years ago, but they've introduced a service that actually inspects the websites that you're going to and see if they're known points for malware distribution, for virus distribution, and don't let you get to the websites in the first place if that is the case. Websites get hacked a lot. And the most common cause of people getting viruses and pop-up ads on their computer is they go visit a blog, or they go visit a recipe site. They go visit something like that. The person who puts the recipes on out there, by all means, is probably a grandma and the nicest person in the world and does not want to infect your computer. But that grandma has probably also made her password to the blog, and so now then, people get in, they put some code on her web pages that infect your computer with viruses. That's how it happens. Well, now then Internet Explorer 10 stops that because it's constantly taking the data from everybody who's browsing the internet and checking it to see if it is legitimate data. The taking control in business now is huge. And Windows 7, Windows 8 allows you to do that. Taking control can kind of have a broad meaning. Taking control of employees, perhaps. Taking control of your data. And just taking control of how you operate on a day-to-day business. Windows 7 and Windows 8 let you manage settings, lets you manage users. You know, most people have an IT consulting firm like us who help them with these things, but you have a lot of people who have small businesses. They start out in their kitchen, and they're very successful. They grow into $1 million businesses. I like to watch Shark Tank. I don't know if you ever watched Shark Tank. It's a show on ABC where entrepreneurs go in front of millionaires to invest in their business, and a lot of those businesses are stuff that starts out on their kitchen table with a laptop, with a desktop computer, and they don't have an IT company. They don't have a nephew or a brother who knows about computers, but they've still got to make spreadsheets. They've still got to get on the internet to do research. So Windows 7, Windows 8 has made it much easier for you, not being a network administrator and not being a nerd, to take control, even if you're not comfortable with a computer at all. And I know some of you all, and I know that I'm not saying this in a bad way, you'd identify with me. You're not comfortable with a computer. You're not comfortable, managing a computer. Well, they've made it so simple to say, do you want your secretary to be able to access YouTube or not? Do you want your secretary to be able to get to documents that have this in the file name? Those kind of things. They've allowed you to take that control. It's the same control built into Windows 7. That's when Microsoft started it. Within Windows 7, it's a lot harder to find. You've still got to have an IT partner. You've got to have somebody who can tell you, okay, well, this is where you go. It's easy to do once you get there. But within Windows 8, they've got it dummied down to the point that really anybody can do it. It's very, very easy to take control. And it's also very easy to take use of professional grade services. Office 365 is huge. Everybody within the next 3 to 5 years is going to be using Office 365. When you buy a new computer, you call and say, hey, Willie, I need a new computer. Or you go to Dell or you go to Best Buy, wherever you go, you buy a computer, and then most people, unless they have an IT company, realize, oh, it didn't come with Office, and I need Word and Excel. So you got to go buy Office, and that's $230. If you need Access, which is the database program, well, that's $400. That's going away. Microsoft is moving away from that model. You're going to pay anywhere from $9 to $16 a person per month, and you're going to have Office, and you're going to have Office on any device you have: home computer, work computer, phone, tablet, iPad. Microsoft just released Office 365 for the iPad a couple of months ago. You pay that monthly fee. Well, yeah, you don't have to pay the $450 one time. You save that cost, but it's a recurring fee. Other things are moving to subscription-based services too. I know Lloyd and I are good buddies. I know that he deals with a lot of design. I know that he deals with a lot of design, and Adobe is the same way. Adobe is moving to
a lot more dollars.
Huh? A lot more dollars. That's right. When you get into niche applications, desktop publishing, audio editing, mapping, those kind of things, you're dealing with lots and lots of dollars. And yeah, the Adobe suite for Lloyd has always been expensive. It's not been cheap. But now then, yeah, it's cheaper that he doesn't have to buy it all at one time, but he has to pay for it forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. There's a lot of debate. Is that good or bad? For a lot of people, it's not good. For a lot of people, it's bad. A lot of small businesses, it's bad because that's a never-ending cost that they're going to have to find, that they're going to have to pay in their business, and they're going to have to figure out how to pass it along to other people. Like it, don't like it, it is the model, and it's where everybody's going, and you're not going to change Apple's mind, you're not going to change Microsoft's mind, you're not going to change Adobe's mind. What you probably will see are more smaller applications, more smaller software developers entering the field and having some success because people are going to refuse to pay hundreds of dollars, even $50, $100, $150 a month to be able to edit audio if you're a radio station, or to be able to keep records of pipes, or to be able to perform tax returns. We deal with a lot of CPAs, and the same thing. The CPA firms are used to paying support costs for their software, But you know, up front, they had to buy their tax software. Well, they don't have to buy their tax software, and they're not going to have to pay support costs. They're going to have to pay $189 a month for every person who wants to use the tax software, and that is that. And it's going to be $189 a month for forever and ever and ever and ever. Like I said, that's not necessarily very popular. It's very lucrative, I guess, for the software manufacturers. You know, the one thing I can say about that is we're seeing a lot more of that in other things too. That's how we perform the majority of our work now. It's a lot easier for you to pay us a flat fee every month, and it doesn't matter if your computer breaks and we spend 15 hours, a car drives through your building, and you have to spend 50 hours to get stuff back operational. You pay one flat fee every month, and that's all the IT service you need. Stanley Steamer is doing the same thing with carpet cleaning. Well, you know, instead of having to call Stanley Steamer and when you need your carpet cleaned, well, you pay Stanley Steamer $28.50 a month, and they put you on a maintenance plan, and they come and they clean your carpets on a regular schedule. They clean your furniture on a different schedule, and you just, you know, they want to automatically draft it. You pay that $28.50 a month, and you get your carpets cleaned. Air conditioner people have done that for years. You know, I pay our air conditioning company a certain monthly fee. I don't remember what it is. It's not too much. But they come out, they perform service every spring and every fall. If I need anything, they know what kind of air filters I need, I can call them and say, hey, I need air filters. They bring me air filters. It's included in the cost. You're seeing that subscription model moving to other things in business besides software and besides IT services. You know, it's a good business model for the companies. But you're really seeing that in software. You know, Microsoft isn't going to release a disk-based version of Office after Office 2013. At least they say that they're not. And so, good, bad, indifferent, take it as it may, it is what it is. Windows 7 and Windows 8 works very well with those subscription-based services. A lot of people say, I have Windows 7, why would I want Windows 8? And I'm going to be honest with you, and like I said earlier, Microsoft is sponsoring this event. Microsoft is a great company to work with in terms of being an IT partner. They're very frustrating to work with for a lot of you all. I understand that, and I see it all the time. I'm not saying they're not frustrating to us sometimes, but overall, they're a good partner to work with. Why should somebody even consider Windows 8 instead of Windows 7? You can still buy Windows 7. You're going to buy Windows 7 for the next 5 to 6 years. If you call us and say, hey, I'm hiring a new employee, I'm going to tell you that you need to buy Windows 7. You don't need to buy Windows 8. Well, I'm going to tell you that for a couple of reasons. Number one, we know, like I said earlier, that they're coming out with a new version of Windows 8, Windows 8.1, here in a month and a half. When you buy Windows 7, you're entitled to, when you buy it right now, you're entitled to upgrade to Windows 8.1 when it comes out. There are a lot of applications, and again, specifically niche applications that aren't proven in Windows 8, that are proven in Windows 7, and it work very well in Windows 7. And from a support standpoint for us, it's easier to support Windows 7. It takes less time to support Windows 7, which means that you all, being computer users, take less downtime. You have less downtime. You have less time trying to figure out, okay, where's this document? Why can't I find the My Documents folder? And you take 7 minutes to find the My Documents folder. You know, we feel those things. But there are definitely some advantages to Windows 8. And once Windows 8.1 comes out, you're going to be seeing more and more computers with 8.1. As it is right now, if you go to a big box store, you go to Walmart, you go to Sam's, you go to Office Depot, you go to Best Buy, that's all you can buy is Windows 8. You can't buy Windows 7. You have to buy Windows 7 through an IT partner or directly from a vendor. You only can buy Windows 8. It's not a good time to buy a computer at a big box store right now because, like I said, they're coming out with a new version in a month and a half. You know, it's why would you buy it now? But like I said, there are a lot of advantages to Windows 8 over Windows 7. One of which is faster boot times. Austin works in our shop. Austin sets up new computers. When you get if you order a new computer, Austin is the one who sets it up. Austin takes a lot of computers that we bring back to the shop and fixes them. Austin is a very hands-on hardware person. And you know, I think that if you take a Windows 7 computer versus a Windows 8 computer, how much faster does Windows 8 boot?
Oh, insignificantly faster. I mean, in a way, Windows 8 is a very great operating system. You know, I think Microsoft is adding and removing some features that's going to make it more efficient for both a personal and business experience. I think in 8.1 we're really going to see that. I think we'll hear a lot. I think it's going to make a much greater impact on everyone because of some of the features that it is taking out, especially what you see, the tile interface. That's called the Metro interface. And Windows specifically designed that around a touchscreen device. Okay, there are gestures inside Windows 8. Whereas, for example, you know, if this is a touchscreen here, you can swipe down in Windows 8 and it will drag. There are gestures in each side of the screen. Now, not everybody has a touchscreen interface. So you have to learn how to memorize gestures with your mouse. For instance, if you want to go to a window that you have open in the background, you're going to have to move your mouse to the top left-hand corner and let it idle there. And then from there, you can drag your mouse down, and then it will show you what windows are open in the background. And that's really inconvenient for somebody that doesn't have a touchscreen interface. You know, and that's what, you know, Willie's mentioned in 8.1. They're going to take you back to the normal desktop interface that you're used to seeing in Windows 7 and, you know, older like Windows 8.
Yeah. Now I know that I have a laptop that, you know, that's what we do. We play and we're nerds. And I have a laptop that I put Windows 8 on not that long ago. In fact, that laptop right over there has Windows 8 on it. Compared to Windows 7, it does boot about twice as fast as with Windows 8 as it did with Windows 7. Like it, don't like it, whatever the case may be with the interface, it is faster. You know, battery life, again, I know that Austin deals with a lot of laptops and touch screens in his day-to-day work. You know, I think battery life probably, you know, on a new laptop that's Windows 8 is 10 hours.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's much longer. It's much more extended than, you know, any other Windows 7 machine. Especially the performance factor. You know, whenever running applications within Windows 8, I mean, you notice such a significant difference in speed and performance than you do in Windows 7 that you know it's almost not fair to your business not to implement that in some way.
Yeah, or at least to look at it and see how long does it take Adobe Acrobat to load on a new Windows 7 computer versus a new Windows 8 computer. Well, you know, if you work with us or any IT company you work with, we're happy to, if you buy a computer, we'll put Windows 8 on it, show you what your applications look like, how fast they function. Put Windows 7 on it and show you the same thing and see which way, you can see for yourself. Well, hey, Acrobat comes up and loads 25 seconds faster, but I can't get back to the other application I was in. I like it. Or, no, this is great. You know, that kind of thing. But it is much faster. It's more secure. You know, again, from a technical perspective, the not being able to take your hard drive out and put it in another computer and read it is a nightmare for us because we work on stuff that dead hard drives, computers that die. It makes our job a lot harder, but for whatever it is, it is what it is, and it makes you and the people who own the data more secure. Faster wireless connections, multi-monitor improvements, that's huge. More people are using dual monitors. We see more and more people now moving to 3 monitors and 4 monitors. I actually have a CPA firm who did a study of implementing dual monitors and the productivity increase of their employees, and then they did it with 3 monitors and the productivity increase with 3 monitors. It's a big productivity increase. The Windows File Explorer is improved, and there's just a lot of other features that Windows 7, Windows 8 has that don't have in Windows XP. Overall, I think, takeaway is if you have Windows XP, it's not the end of the world, but we do need to do something. We need to plan now how those machines are going to get phased out or how they're going to get upgraded. We still have time. We still have 6, 7, 8 months to do so, but now is the time to be thinking about that. or they can't be phased out because I have to have them for budgetary reasons or for application reasons. Well, what are we going to do to make those machines more secure? What are we going to do to segregate those off? Maybe give them to users who don't work remotely. Maybe put them on a separate network, which we can do fairly easily so that they can't infect other computers that are using, you know, older operating systems, newer operating systems. But like it, don't like the interface as it may be, it's coming, and you know you have to deal with it. But I do think that the Windows 8.1, Windows Blue, will make you all much more comfortable, much more comfortable with it. I like questions, and I'm happy to take any questions, answer any questions you have. One last thing.